And we're live. Thank you, Burhan, for being my test subject for the curriculum.
Right.
This is AI Agent PAM, and this is a 4 or 5 lesson. It's a 5 lesson curriculum, which is designed to turn you from a engineer, from a regular software engineer, into a AI agent engineer, which means you'll learn everything you need to know to make LLM based programs, which can run iteratively, use tools, respond to changing environments, um, run in a closed loop. All of these run in an open loop. All of these kind of things that advanced AI assistants can do. How does that sound?
Sounds interesting.
Yeah, sounds fun, right? I don't know why we haven't done this earlier, but
Yeah.
but I'm hoping that basically the all the experience that I've been getting through my work recently, particularly through the computer use agent that I've been working on for the past month, is really gonna feed back into this. So this is the outline, and this is basically one lesson at a time. What we'll be going through. I haven't tested this yet, so we're gonna see how long each one takes. Um,
Right.
but basically, the first lesson, super basic. By the way, I should add for this whole curriculum, it's based on using Meta Llama. And the reason why is, of course, we can make agents using GPT, we can make agents using Claude, and those will get better performance at the end of the day um, because they are really, the companies have invested a lot into these models. Um, but I'm using Meta Llama because if you're doing everything open source, you can sort of get a little deeper understanding. You can you can run the models yourself, and you can get a feeling for how that is. And MetaLlama is the most mature, I'd say, out there. For they just released 3.3 recently, um, which is really great with tool use, and it's just one of the more mature models out there for making agents. So I think like while it might be a couple months behind the, uh, the the proprietary models as far as like agent performance, it's only a couple months behind, and that's great for learning. So the first lesson is going to be just getting Llama running locally and like using it via a Python script. Um, so that's just the first lesson. It's like, how do we do Ollama? I don't know. Have you ever used Ollama?
I have not.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and Ollama is actually really great for making agents. Um, the framework they provide. And then the second lesson is going to be making a React agent. Have you heard of this?
No.
React? Yeah, completely different than this.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's not a typo. It's just kind of mis unfortunately named. And then we're going to make, and this is basically how agents were made like a year and a half ago. But still, some people use this architecture. This is just the original hacked together agent architecture, and we'll do that with Python. And so we'll say like, um, what's an agent that can will make arbitrarily defined tools in Python, and
Hmm.
then basically the AI is going to use the LLM to, um, when you start it, it's going to either give you the answer right away, or it's going to say I need to use a tool. It's going to go use the tool, come back, and then use that to inform the answer. That's a just foundational, fundamental agent there. The next lesson, so lesson number 3, is going to be moving from the React architecture to a JSON-based architecture. And I know you're familiar with JSON, right?
Yep.
So you always could have used JSON from the beginning, So like here, initially we could have used JSON, but it's more of a difficult task for an LLM to put out JSON output. So
Right.
what really made a difference is when people started fine tuning the models to provide JSON structured output, and then it became way more useful to put into your agents because like it's a structured output. So just the difference between just having plain text versus structured text, where it's marked what's the which part is the tool use, what's the name of the tool, what's the argument. Um, these are more clearly defined, and there's less room for error. So we can do the same example with JSON. I don't know why I said generating a Pokemon with stats. I totally forgot what my idea was. I think it sounds like a cool project, so we'll do that. I'm trying to think what I was thinking. What in the heck was this idea supposed to be? But it will be cool. We can come up with our own ideas for tools. Oh, I
Right.
know what this is. This is to show. This is not an agent necessarily. This is to show that an LLM can generate a structured a structured data. So
Right.
Pokemon card would be a great example of that.
Like different stats.
Exactly, and you
Okay.
can actually tell the LLM these depending on you can depending on how it's a little bit tricky, but depending on how your setup is, you can ask certain stats to be certain very data types. You can say certain ones are required. Um, so this was a game changer for me when I was developing simple apps, the OpenAI JSON mode,
Right.
um, and then because it just removes a whole bunch of parsing that you have to do. And then here doing the same thing as we did before, but using JSON and seeing how that works. Um, I haven't run these yet, so it'll it'll be fun. I mean, I've done them before, but like in my own way. I haven't done them in like a course.
Right.
So that's lesson number three. Lesson number four is going to be how to make a. It's a little bit of a yeah, a little bit of a pivot here, but it has to be done. Basically, how do we make an LLM generate code, um, and how do you work with that code? So we could use one of the earlier agent architectures that we had before, where code interpreter is a tool and the input to the tool is the code. But we're going to explore all the ways that you can do it, um, and the way that we normally do it with the way that a tool um, like Cursor or Gitwit or any code generation tool would normally generate code using an LLM. And yeah, we'll also experiment like um, how you can make an agent out of that. And basically, if your agent is just generating and running code, there's a more effective way to do it than using one of these earlier architectures. A simpler and more clean way to do it, which is more effective, which is just using code fences, basically.
Right.
And then the example here is really cool. Um, we can make an AI agent that sort of like a very simple computer use agent that creates a cloud sandbox and then runs shell commands in that sandbox. So that's gonna be really fun. Um, Hugging Face just recently released a new agent framework, and it led to some really interesting discussion actually on LinkedIn about like because basically what Hugging Face said was, oh, we're not using any of these. Well, we're in this framework, we're not using regular tool use, but we're using only code execution. And then with that code execution, the LM can write code to call tools. And they said this is better. This is a better way. And obviously, it's not that simple. That this is just better than the other one. It's a lot more nuanced than that, and it really depends what you're doing. But there was some really good discussion in that thread. Basically, can actually can find it. Just over here. Comments.
Wait, is it the OS Copilot?
No, it's this one here. So there's really good discussion here about this, where basically, um, let me find the most interesting one. Yeah, here. So this is basically what it comes down to is they said here, um, it's it's much more natural for LMs to write actions this way.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, performance is much better.
Right.
Um, and um, this guy, Ibrahim, wrote back, it depends. Um, you'd have to be very confident in their ability with code execution. Code as output makes LM more expressive, but it introduces other difficulties. So, so there's this trade-off between JSON mode versus code mode. And basically, what I'm trying to say is it's not so simple as one is better than the other, and that's why in this in this curriculum we're going through all of the all of these three architectures basically
Hmm.
one at a time. And maybe in your agents, if you have a task from a company to make an agent. Um, before this, maybe you would just jump into one. Now you actually consider, okay, what are all of the possible architectures that we could
Right.
use, um,
True.
and do a proper, trade off. So I think that will take basically four lessons, so at least 4 hours to do those four. And then what I want to do, and then if we want to continue after that, basically here's some ideas for like projects. So you could do an agent that, and so after with each of these, you already have done like a small project, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you can make an agent, and then I'll write some tools, you'll write some of your own tools, and we'll do the same kind of agent, but giving it different tools and different prompts. So each one is a mini project. But then if you want to do a larger project, like something really cool, you could do something like an agent that can browse the web, or an agent that can look at a computer screen and click on things. And that's pretty much as advanced as agents get right now.
Right.
There's much more. um, that that's pretty much the cutting edge of it. So if we get through all of this and we get to here, then basically we will be a state of the art AI agent developer.
Fair enough.
Cool.
Interesting.
So let's see. So what we're gonna do first is we are going to just get Llama set up locally with Ollama. All right. So um, this is the interactive part. So we'll search for Ollama, ollama.com, and click download. And you are using Windows, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And I'm using Mac OS.
It's gonna take 7 minutes for me.
No way.
Yeah.
Mine's finished.
Oh. Wait, it's like 745 MBs for me. How much was it for you? It's because
It's
you're
seven,
on Mac.
it's 745.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's for me. It's 745 for me.
Oh, that's interesting. Mine is 188. So that's really interesting. So possibly, actually, because what this is actually downloading is mainly just an installer. Um,
Right.
it's not um, it's not including Llama in it. It shouldn't be, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because that gets downloaded afterwards. But so I'll show what I got here. So I got Ollama Darwin. Fun fact: what's Darwin?
Darwin? Charles Darwin?
Charles Darwin, man with a pet turtle.
Oh, yeah. Darwin.
It's also the kernel of Mac OS. It's called Darwin.
That's cool. Tu-tu-tu.
So let's see. Oh yeah, so it's in my applications folder now, and here's Ollama. Yours is still downloading.
Yeah, it's still downloading.
Okay,
It's halfway done.
cool. Cool. So yeah, it's so straightforward as you can tell, right?
Yeah, it installed the dependencies already.
Dependencies, yeah. Ollama. Well, so Ollama is the, I guess you could call it like an inference engine,
Yeah,
and then this is basically the weights of the model, right?
right.
The model is just a bunch of. Is my screen like a good size? Should I make anything bigger?
No, it looks perfect.
Okay. Well, I'm just not sure how people are watching this. If they're watching it on social media or something, it would be big enough for them.
Yeah, would
So
it be installing the whole model once you run this command, or?
yeah, it should be.
Okay,
And by installing, all we really mean is downloading a bunch of numbers. Um, it's just downloading the model weights, and weights, as you know, are just okay. So I believe it just downloaded it. Let's kill it. Let's kill it and run it again. See if it runs. See, the second time I ran it, it was instant. So I think it just downloaded the model right there.
right.
Um, Now the latest one. So let's say hello. And it's quite an experience to talk to an LLM that's running kind of slowly, right?
Yeah.
um, but it's not as slow as it could be. Um,
Wait,
so
what's the reason for it to be like slower than usual? It is slow though. Like you could notice, it's slow, right?
yeah, well, this is running on my MacBook Air CPU,
Oh, okay.
or
It's
you could say my Mac.
mainly a performance thing.
What's that?
Like it's a performance thing, completely based on where you're actually running it.
I should say it's running on my MacBook Air's GPU. Um,
Right.
yeah, it makes a huge difference. um, because this is, I mean, you just took the class in assembly language, so
Mm.
you know more about low level computing than I do. But
Yeah,
everything about this is just um, multiplication of matrices,
yeah,
and so the size of your GPU or the, the stats of your GPU make a huge difference.
cool.
So yeah, yours should run faster than mine, right? Because you have a gaming PC.
Yeah, it should, hopefully. Depends if it runs on the CPU, it might be slower because mine is like average, but my GPU is better. Let's see.
So Ollama uses the GPU.
Like right off the box.
It should. I mean, the whole idea of it is to use the GPU. The only case, um,
I think it will only go use the CPU if there is no GPU.
yeah, something like that.
Right.
Like I know that when you run a an LLM on Replit,
Hmm.
I think it uses the CPU, so it's rather slow.
Right.
Um, but yeah, you never want to be running you never want to be running an LLM on your CPU. It's just not designed. It's not designed for that. So these are the latest models. It would be really cool if you could see when they were released. But this one, I believe, was released a month ago or less. This one was a few months ago,
Right.
and yeah, actually, let's look at the Wikipedia page for Llama. Let's walk through that.
I think it's been like 3, 4 months, couple months. Oh, it's December, so it was like last month.
Yeah, so 3.3 has been 3.3
Oh,
is really new. But let's look through here. Okay. So
wait,
here,
but the increase in these open source models, do you think how is it gonna affect uh, Anthropic and OpenAI? Would they be reducing their costs, like token costs? Because there are tons of open source models now.
well, the fact that the model weights are freely available doesn't necessarily make it cheaper to run.
Yeah, it still requires the computational power to run it.
Right. So that's more of an economic calculation on their part. Um, if a model if a open weight model would come out um, if an open weight model would come out that's superior to what Anthropic or OpenAI had, and let's just imagine that scenario,
Mhm.
um, then the open source hosts, the hosts that run open source models, they could run that, but they would still have to have economy of scale, and they would still have to like find a way to scale it up to run it very cheaply. Um, so I guess you need both the model and you need the servers.
Cool. Yeah, mine is installing like locally now,
Yeah,
like the Ollama command. It's gonna take 12 minutes for it to install. It's 2 GB.
I think it's just downloading the model for you. The model
Yeah.
works, right? So let's look at this. Let's have a look here because you can actually run. No, we'll let it run. We'll let it download, but you actually can download smaller versions. If we were in a rush, but we're not in a rush. So let's look at the models by release date here. So almost a year ago, Llama was released. Wow, okay. 11, 10 and a half, no, 10 months ago. Yeah, just
We're in 2025. It's been almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in like one
two
month.
years. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's yeah. So 1 year and what am I saying? 1 year and 11 months ago, or 1 year and
yeah,
yeah, 1 year and 10 months ago. About we got Llama. Wow, it's been so long. It feels like it was just so. So then that was in February 2023. They came out with and they release these different models. It's the same model essentially, but actually I don't know that for sure. Um,
Mhm.
but they have different parameter sizes, I guess is how to call them. But it's a trade off between running faster versus actually more competent model.
Right,
You can think of these as just compressed versions of this one. The amount of training data still seems to be roughly the same.
right.
And Llama 2 came out, okay, just about half a year later.
Yeah,
And for that they increased the context length. And importantly, they gave it a commercial license.
hmm,
So now you can actually make money off these things. But before you weren't allowed to. So in this period there was kind of a weird period where anyone could run it, but you couldn't like use it for a
you
commercial.
can commercialize it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Code Llama came out, which was exciting. The idea of like a coding LM, but of an open source coding LM, but honestly, people don't really talk about this one that much because like I think like coding LLMs are just so close to general purpose LLMs. Like the idea of making a separate one is difficult. Like
right.
you need to put a lot of resources into a niche LM to make it specifically better. And also, like it's like how much code is there um, left that hasn't been already data mined? Um, okay, and now we're getting to last year. We had Llama 3, Llama 3.1, Llama 3.2. They're not noting here, but I think Llama 3.2 was the first for vision, right?
Yeah, I think because the 11 billion had.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we used Llama 3.2 in our hackathon project.
yeah,
It just came out like the day before.
yeah. Yo, hey, Asif, we're going through basically a course. I'm teaching a course on how to become um, an AI agent engineer. So recommend to start from the beginning to give you the overview of the whole course. And then we have Llama 3.3. I have been comparing Llama 3.2 and Llama 3.3 a little bit. Um, and I've found that Llama 3.3 is great for making agents. So we're going to be
It's
using
great for making what?
it's great for tool use and building
Oh,
agents.
okay.
So we're going to be using this one for sure.
Right.
How's your download coming along?
7 minutes left.
All right. Okay, so um, I'm gonna basically continue on, and um, I'm gonna show how we can use this as an API, because everything these days comes
Mm-hmm.
in the open source models, and uh, so you have the model, um, and then you have a so something like Ollama, which is called an inference, or they call it a framework,
Hmm.
but really what it is it's an inference engine. Just trying to
Is it similar to LangChain?
no, yes and no.
Okay, that's different.
Um, so I think this is the right term. So an inference engine is what actually computes the next token, right? So
Yeah.
so you what you can think of it as is when you have C code,
Hmm.
you compile that down into assembly, right? And so that
Yeah.
assembly, it basically is just instructions, direct instructions for your processor. So assembly code basically runs itself, right?
Hmm.
And on the other hand, if you have Python code, um, that's different. You could compile it, but normally it's run with an interpreter, right?
Yep.
So you could sort of think as the weights of the model being the code, and then the
Hmm.
inference engine being the interpreter.
Fair enough. Yeah, that makes sense.
So weights, yeah, weights, they're not, they cannot run anything. They cannot do anything by themselves. Um,
Right.
you need to have a program, and we can write that program actually in 100 lines of code. Actually, you'd be surprised. You can write a really simple one, but it would be terribly inefficient.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
so that's why these inference engines are so important, and frankly difficult to difficult to get right. So Ollama, um,
Also, like, just because we're running it locally, we don't need internet, right?
exactly. Okay, and so Ollama uses um, an inference engine called llama.cpp.
C++.
Okay,
plus.
so in a sense, it is a bit like LangChain in that it
Mhm.
connects things together, but it is specifically focused on creating a stack on your local machine where you can run an LLM. So,
Right.
so it's more about um, it does have like a client library, sort of like LangChain, because LangChain is a client library. Um, it doesn't serve LLMs. It just receives the output, and then it lets you do fun stuff with that. But this is more focused on the serving on the server side.
Right.
Cool. So. So yeah, now let's get up and running with actually serving the server. What else would you do with the server? So let's look. I just ran the Ollama command to get like a list of what can it do. So what I did just now was Ollama run, and that gives you a command line interface prompt. Yeah, to chat with the model. Cool, but you're not putting that into production anywhere. um, what we want is to be able to make a Python script where we could call this, not where we could call the model and get the completion as it's called. So you could think of like, oh, can I do that with like making a command line, having the model use the command line to call Ollama? Don't do that. What you really just want is Ollama serve, right? And we may have to put in the model name as well there. Um, so this says address already in use, which I wasn't really expecting, but basically, let's see, let's do Ollama. Yeah, see if anything's running. Okay, so nothing is running now. We're not serving any models currently. So I could maybe change the port because this is my local host server, and then this is the port that it's going to be serving on. Now, I don't know why this port is in use. I don't even know what this port is. But it looks like it's specific because the second result that came up when I searched it was for Ollama. It looks like it's Ollama specific. So looks like it's an arbitrary number that they came up with. So here it says Ollama binds your local host port to 11434. We can change that. I don't know why. I don't know why it's not working out of the box for me, but we can literally just do this, right? So Ollama host equals um, localhost 11435 instead of 11434. Ollama serve. Now we're fine.
You didn't need to write the which model we were going to use, right? You just said Ollama serve.
Yeah, and you know why?
Why?
Because when you call an API, normally you specify the model name as well,
Hmm.
right? So actually, we can serve all the models.
Right.
Um, and then I'm wondering then what this would do. Ollama PS. Um, list running models. I mean, that's something to look into another time. Maybe it's like, let's see what models I have. This is what I have, Llama 3.2. Maybe it's like this. Ollama run Llama 3.2, and then I open another tab and do Ollama PS. Now I can see that it's running, you see?
Yeah.
So it seems like, yeah, maybe even with the API it does that too. So I could do Ollama stop Llama 3.2. Let's see what happens.
I actually got mine working, but it's running on my CPU instead of my GPU.
Oh, really?
But
How do you know?
I just Ollama PS and it says CPU. Yours says GPU.
Okay. Can you show? Can you show your screen?
Yeah, sure. Can you see it?
Yeah. Let's see.
Okay, this works, right? This is quicker, and and it says 100% CPU instead of GPU.
All right. Show how you ran it. Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Let's.
this was loaded up, and then I just
Mhm.
ran the command.
Okay. Show it working.
I see.
Well, it's not running too slowly,
Yeah, it's way quicker than yours, but
even on your
still,
CPU. Right?
yeah,
That's fine. All right. Well, maybe that's something you can look into later. I mean, if you, it would be cool to see how it would run on your GPU.
GPU. Mm-hmm.
Cool. So, yeah, I mean, that was the main thing we had to get done today. But the last thing that we have to do is we have to learn how to use Ollama Serve uh, from a client, right?
Right.
So let's go back to the Ollama documentation. Says you can use Ollama Serve, and then after that, you can use a curl command like this, right? So I'm going to open another terminal window.
Wait, so far, we
Yeah,
have the model running, and then we had the serve command running, right? And then you're just opening the third tab.
you have the model installed, you have the model downloaded, and then you run Ollama Serve. You don't
Perfect.
actually need to run the model. That will happen when we call the API.
Okay.
So, so here, keep in mind we've changed the port. So I'm gonna change that here, right? Something is going burr. It's still running. All right.
Yeah, for some reason, I wasn't able to get the serve command running on the first try.
Check out what mine's doing.
Wait, let me see. Oh, wow.
It gave
These
a
are,
really verbose answer to the question of why is the sky blue, but that makes sense because it has a lot to say about that.
yeah. It's actually making sense. Like, go from top to bottom. It says the sky appears blue because of a phenomenon called scattering,
Which is
which occurs when sunlight interacts with the tiny molecules of gases.
yeah, right.
Hmm. Wait, how did you change the port?
Are you getting the same error that I got?
Mine says listen TCP, like the address.
Uh-huh.
Only one usage of each socket address is only permitted. So
Okay,
mine
cool.
is
Yeah,
using already.
yeah. Just share your screen, and I can hide it when I go back to my screen. Here, here we go. Okay.
So you see,
Yeah, so it's the same thing that I had. Um, it looks like, and this was the solution was here. Um,
I tried something like I netstat which port it was actually using, and then I killed it, but still it doesn't work. after killing the process.
Well, that's fine. You can just use a different port. So here's here's the here's the command to use a different port,
Wait, can you
which
send it? Like,
which
okay.
31 people have enjoyed. So we know that it's great. Here's the command. Oh, check this out. I think I figured out why.
Alright.
So this it's funny. Everyone is liking this one, but no
Mm-hmm.
one noticed down below that what this person commented. They said, "Look, if you're using Mac OS and you've installed the Mac app, you don't need to run Ollama serve. It's already running."
Oh,
Makes which makes a lot of sense why this very unique port number is already in use.
so like mine's already running
It's
too.
probably already running. So let's go back to um, let me show you how I'm going to do that. I'm just going to not run Ollama serve. So I killed this, and
Hmm.
then I'm going to run this. I'm just going to run this again. This original command here, right? I wonder if that's new because so it's already running, and presumably if I would quit this application,
Hmm.
it'll die. See that?
Yeah. Wait, let me try it now. Okay, it's not working. Interesting. Wait, do I have to? What am I missing?
Oh, Burhan, what have you done? Okay, leave this open.
Okay.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Okay, stop doing that with your mouse.
Okay.
um, so the first command that you ran was trying to run Ollama on a different port than the default port, and that didn't work because I think we just talked about this recently, didn't we? Windows is not a is a different kind of operating. The shell is different than Mac OS, and perhaps that Ollama host equals is not the correct way to do this in PowerShell. But let's check the second way. So that's interesting. That it looks like I cannot tell if Ollama is running on that port or not. It's giving we got an error.
Hmm.
Positional parameter cannot be found that accepts. Oh, you know what this? Yeah, you know what this whole problem is, Burhan.
It's good.
You know what, Burhan.
Hmm.
You know what the problem is.
I don't.
So you're running Bash shell commands in PowerShell in the Windows. It's the difference between macOS and Windows. Windows just doesn't know what's going on.
So like, should I try that in command prompt? Would that be any different?
I'm not sure, but what I all you can do is we can just ask. Does I don't even know if Windows has curl. installed. So I can just run. Um, okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
this is what ChatGPT said. So it's not too difficult really. Um, see this?
I don't.
It's because you're not looking at my screen.
No, my screen is focused instead
Oh,
of. Yeah,
oh yeah. Okay, okay. Sorry.
no worries. I see it now.
So look here. Uh,
Um.
so
Okay, it's the quotes.
Unix-based shell commands and PowerShell, they're different. So what it, but it's giving a really weird prompt. Now, if you would run, I can paste this in the chat. But if you would run curl, I'm curious what happened if you just run curl and then press return.
Okay, something's happening now. You could see reading web response.
Right.
Okay.
So so it looks like there was a response,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it was rather long. So this may be working, but look, the goal at the end of the day isn't to get this working in terminal, right? The goal is to make a Python script,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, so how do you normally run Python on Windows?
Oh, I just use an IDE. I don't use terminal often, but if I wanted to, I would just I could use the terminal.
No, no, that's not my question. My question is just how do you normally do it?
Oh, I just use VS Code.
Okay, great. So let's do that.
Okay. Let me share my screen again.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what do we do?
So we need to write a Python program
Mm-hmm.
which is going to use the API specification,
Mm-hmm.
all Ollama, right?
Hmm. And it'd be running on the port that we used earlier,
Hmm.
like this API, right? This endpoint.
The same port, yeah, the same URL that you use, you could paste that into the to the AI prompt here.
Okay. So like this is the API, and we're passing the prompt here.
Right. Now, there's one thing that's wrong with this.
Mm-hmm. What is it?
It's on line 4.
Did you say something?
It's on line 4.
It's on line 4.
Yeah.
Uh, it's the function, right? What's wrong here? Oh, it says Llama 2,
Yeah.
and we're using 3.2, right?
Hmm.
That's fine now, right?
Yeah. Let's try. Well, I don't know. Let's try and run it.
Oh yeah, I do have requests, I think. Oh. double check. Yeah, it is.
Can you make the text size a little bigger and that
Is
should
it
be it.
fine? Okay, we got something failed. Fails to generate response. 404.
Okay, so let's compare the URL that we have here with the URL. Like, look at that one, and then look at the one in your terminal. Is it exactly the same?
Yeah, it is. It's the same.
Are you sure? Exactly the same.
We could just copy, you know?
You could, yeah.
Well, I want to see if it's the same. Okay. Yeah, it's the same. It's exactly the same.
Okay, that's exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting a 404, right?
Yep. Oh, it's Llama 2 here.
Oh, okay.
Should we try again?
Let's try again. This looks better.
Hmm. Okay, we got it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice work.
Mm-hmm. That was fun.
So, yeah, we're gonna call it at that for today.
Mm-hmm.
That's the that's it. Um, you have a rough idea of what that code does.
Yeah,
It,
I do. It's simple.
yeah, it's pretty simple.
Uh,
So
we're just passing what we were already doing that in PowerShell, like the API URL with the prompt and
yeah,
the model. We're just getting whatever it returns.
exactly. Um, so it's raw HTTP request.
Mm-hmm.
Now in the that's calling the API endpoint, which we call a REST endpoint or a RESTful.
REST API.
Yes, exactly. So for the next um, lesson,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to be using um, a more abstract uh, way of calling the API. We're going to be using a client library, and we'll use the OpenAI library, even though we're not using anything from OpenAI,
Mm-hmm.
because most LLM APIs are now converging towards the one standard that is most popular, which is OpenAI's,
Right.
and probably this is already using the OpenAI spec, um, which means it would be really easy to use the Python OpenAI package, um,
Mm-hmm.
and that should make the code a little bit shorter, a little bit simpler. So yeah, that's your homework. I don't think it should take more than like half an hour. Is
Right.
see if you can rewrite that Python code. Maybe it just takes a minute with Cursor. I don't know. See if you can
Mm-hmm.
rewrite that Python code so that it uses OpenAI's client library, uh, import OpenAI,
Okay.
and
Yeah,
import
I'll see.
the same thing.
I'll try and do that myself using documentation. Let's see. It should
Yeah,
be way simpler than what we're actually doing, and yeah, I'll see.
yeah. Normally it's a bit less because you don't need so much to check for errors, um, these kind of things.
Right.
It parses the output for you. So Cool, nice work. And then after that, well, I don't know, next session
Hmm?
we will build our first agent.
Looking forward to it. This was fun.
Yeah.